the Petanque Show with me, David Plumoff. Today I welcome one of the game's most respected and talented players, not just in England but in Europe as well. She is one of the most decorated players on these shores and is also a world and European tir de precision shooting bronze medalist, something we can only dream of. Today I'm delighted to welcome Sarah Huntley to the show. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. For those that don't know, this is take two because I had a malfunction problem earlier. So we have started again, which is good. Anyway, let's begin with those two bronze medals you won. Just let me know and tell the viewers how you won them and where they were and when it was.
Okay. So the first one was at the Ladies World Championships in Turkey in 2011. I went there with Emma and Steph Molden.
Just a team of three, was it?
Yeah, it was only a team of three then, so it was qualification. And the first day of the competition was actually called off because it was raining so bad. So it was all outside. So we did the shooting at like midnight. And I think in the first round, I was so nervous and it was so cold that I was shaking so much. And I was only on 7 when I went into the coches, and then hit all 4 coches to get 27 and go through to the repechage. I qualified through 8th and then played against Thailand, who was like the current world champion. So she was in her like championship jersey when I played against her. It was really like neck and neck the whole way through, and I hit the last coche to beat her to go through to the semi-final. Where I played Maurice from Canada, who had won loads of medals already in the shooting.
Yeah, what were your nerves like in that shooting that last coche?
Yeah, not good. I was really, really nervous. Yeah, I don't know how it is.
Did you need 5 points then?
I needed 3, and I got 3.
Oh wow, perfect.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And then who did you play in the final? Semi-final. Sorry.
Was against Maurice from Canada. So she's represented her country, I think, like every single year actually. She's got loads of medals, and I lost to her by 1 point. So yeah, a little bit disappointing.
It's still amazing though to get a bronze medal at World Championships, isn't it?
Yeah. And the first championship that I've been to.
Yeah, that's amazing. Did Vanessa Webb win one?
Yeah, I think she'd won one or two maybe. I think it was like 5 years before.
Yeah, at the Worlds?
I think it was at Worlds as well.
Oh, amazing.
Not 100% sure.
Were you inspired by her at all? Did you think about what she's done, or did you look up to her as a player?
Yeah, I think like as I was growing up, she was always like the big name in like, well, English petanque ladies and just everyone really. So I think she was always like the sort of name that you aspired to be like. So yeah, definitely looked up to her.
Absolutely. So moving forward then, you went to a Euros in 2016 and also won a bronze medal. Was there a different expectation on your shoulders then?
Well, I think it's a little bit more difficult because you go in with everybody having expectations of you as well.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not that easy to actually replicate it, and such a long time after as well, it is quite difficult. So I think I felt probably equally nervous doing that one as I had done the first one, because I felt like I needed to kind of live up to everybody's expectations and I didn't want to disappoint anyone. So yeah, that one I qualified 8th as well, going through. So I played the top seed, which was Josephine from Holland, who had just scored 45. So yeah, I can't remember what the score was, but I beat her, and then I had to play against Jessica from Sweden, who has got several medals as well. And it was all sort of neck and neck until she hit 3 5s in a row and then pulled away and couldn't catch her. So
no, but it's still 2 great achievements, isn't it? Winning 2 bronze medals at Worlds and Euros. Have you ever been close to winning a medal in a team event at all at Worlds or Euros?
We haven't really. So the best result we've had at a team event is in the ladies is top 16. So we've come 9th several times, like quite consistently actually. I think over the last 5 years it's only Cambodia where we didn't achieve like a top 16 result, but we haven't medalled yet. I think I suppose the closest we've been is Euro Cup actually, where we lost in the top 8 last year.
What do you think, where do you think the level is in England in terms of, let's talk about the female game, because obviously you play on the female side of the game. How close do you think a ladies team from England or the UK is of breaking that ceiling of making a top 8 and then effectively a top 4?
I think we can do it, and I think it's just sort of who you draw and sort of how well you play in those games. So I think we've drawn France in the barrage pretty much every time actually, which, because we're kind of qualifying through at number 16 or 15 or sort of towards the bottom, we always get like the sort of top seeds to play against when we go through. So if we could just do a little bit better in the sort of qualifying rounds and avoid those teams, I think we'd have actually a good chance of getting top 8. And I don't think we're far away from medaling really at all. Sammy and Emma at the World Doubles, they got a top 8 finish, and they definitely could have beaten Canada to actually medal in that. And then obviously the girls in the Espoirs have medalled in Espoirs, and obviously the shooting as well. So I don't think we're that far away. I just think we just need to be playing that good level like consistently. It's just about having those consistent games. We've got those games in us. Like we've beaten Thailand, we've come really close to beating France. We just can't quite get there yet.
What nations would you say are similar to the England ladies teams that seem to do get there? What do you think they do differently that we don't? Do they just play more tournaments abroad, or they play together more often against better players?
Well, it's difficult to say. I think like Denmark, Holland, they're the sort of level that we're at, and Denmark have won a silver medal in the European Championships a few years back, and I don't think there's that much difference between their sort of level of play and ours. And even like Belgium, we went to Mosaic and won one of their competitions, me, Sammy and Emma, with Karen Lombard. So we definitely can beat them. I think they've just got the like consistency and probably better facilities, better coaching, and sort of a better structure than we probably do. So we probably can get there, and I don't think our level is much difference to theirs. It's just about kind of maybe having like playing throughout the year and maybe playing at higher level tournaments more often, which had actually started to happen until COVID. So
do you think the structure of like the tournaments we play in England could improve? Do you feel like in like Denmark and Holland and Belgium, like those countries you just named, do you think they put a more bespoke, say, calendar out for those top players to play against each other regularly?
I'm not really sure what their calendars are like, so I can't really say. I think we definitely like the squad system that was coming in would be really helpful. Well, I mean, we didn't get to play as a squad very much actually, but that would get your players playing together more often. I think that's the sort of thing that we need, is like the sort of consistency, playing with the same teams. I think when I was thinking about it earlier, I actually haven't been to a championship with the same 4 people.
No, yeah.
So I think
you're always playing with different people, and you're always having to like change, like, because obviously when you play with different people all the time, the way they play changes as well, and that means you have to change how you play. So it's not always consistent, is it?
No, and I think everyone plays at their best when they're comfortable with the team that they're in, and they know how to support the other people, and those people know how to support you, and sort of if you're not playing well, you know how to get out of that. And the same with the coaches as well. Like the coaches that go with you change quite a lot. So what they expect and how they play the game is probably different each time as well, because obviously they don't all have the same take on the game either.
Yeah. Do you find that when you do go to, because obviously you've gone to a lot of Euros and Worlds, that the other nations teams seem to be very similar? Like, as in the same team that played last year, the year before is now playing this year, or maybe they've got a different 4th player, but it's relatively the same.
Yeah, definitely. I think we see the same faces sort of year in, year out. Obviously people do change, and sometimes the whole team does change, But definitely, I think they stay a lot more consistent than ours have done over the years.
Okay.
And their coaches definitely stay the same. So if you think about someone like Holland, they have Toon as their coach like every single year. I think he coaches like all different areas of play as well. So he does like the espoirs, the women. So he knows the competition really, really well as well. So he knows who you're playing against. So like he knows us like inside out. So when they're playing against us, he actually probably has like a good understanding of how to beat us or how they've previously beaten us, which I think is actually really obviously useful.
Is that something you think Tonga England need to bring in then? Is having, say, one or two coaches that are the squad coaches and they go every year with that squad to the championships?
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful. I think it is starting to actually happen. So I think obviously you've got like Scott has been consistent with the juniors. Rowley has been ours the last couple of years, and I think he's intending to, like, moving forward. I'm not 100% sure, and then the Espoirs did have the same sort of coaches as well. So, and I think Rowley is now going to be coaching the female juniors. So I think it has kind of got some consistency now, which is probably better.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that. Okay, let's leave that there for now. You're arguably England's greatest female player, I'd say. Maybe others will throw some others into the hat, but arguably you are. Do you feel the pressure constantly because you're always expected to win, if that makes sense? And that's no disrespect to any of the other ladies players out there, but you must turn up to a tournament and you must feel a little bit, oh, I've got to win today. If I don't win, it's, you know, do you feel pressure like that?
I think you do. And I think if you're towards the top of the rankings or in the squads, like, you've always got that pressure on you. And quite often you feel like a lot of people want the underdogs to actually win as well, which I can completely understand. So I think it does put an added pressure onto you to have to kind of perform well all the time. And obviously you can't perform well all the time. So it does make it a little bit more difficult. Yeah,
absolutely. Do you ever hear like whispers or sniggers when you've lost a game? People are like, oh, Sarah lost. How does that make you feel when you hear things like that? Does it make you feel like, oh, bloody, I'm good at this game? Or does it make you feel a bit like, oh God, I wish I won that now?
Well, I wish I win every game, but no, it's not nice. Like, obviously you don't want people to want you to lose. But I don't want to say you get used to it, but I think it is what it is. Like, yeah, no, absolutely. I can understand. Okay. And I want the underdog to win quite a lot of the time. So if I'm watching sport and there's an obvious underdog, then I would want them to win too. So yeah, I think it just being in the squads, that's what's going to happen. Yeah, absolutely. So with that in mind, do you remember all the tournaments you've won? Do you remember all the national titles you've won? Do you know how many you've won? I don't really know. A few. A few. No, I don't know. Probably got to be touching 20, hasn't it? I imagine. I don't know. I should have done some research, really. So, how many times have you been to a Worlds and Euros? If you don't, that's something that I'd like to know, because obviously a lot of men's players have been 2 or 3 times, but you must have been a hell of a lot of times. Yeah, so I think 6 Worlds. One of them was the juniors. Long time ago, and then one of them was the world singles, doubles and mixed, and then 4 Europeans. 2 of them were the singles, and then 2 triples. Apart from your success as an individual in the precision shooting, what's the best tournament you've played in? What's the best Worlds or Euros you've had? It doesn't even have to be the most successful. It could just be the best tournament, like the way it was set out, the venue. What was it like? What can you tell me about that? Oh, I think in terms of the venue was probably Thailand. It was in like a big university, so it was all inside, all with aircon, which a lot of the venues don't have, and they're boiling. Or sometimes you're outside, so just being inside with aircon is a perk. But it was a big arena, so I think it was like a basketball court or something like that before. Yeah, and all of the people from the university come and watch like every single day. So there's huge crowds, and yeah, like the atmosphere was just amazing. So, and obviously they're so professional.
Yeah.
Everything was so professionally ran, and there was like a really good opening ceremony and things like that. So I think that's the best one that I've been to.
Who did you play that with? When was it?
Oh, I was actually really lucky. So I went instead of Emma Coggins with my mum, Kim, and Lisa Edmondson, and that was 2015 maybe.
Oh wow! Yeah. Oh, that's all right then. So let's move on from that. You've obviously had a lot of success, and you've won those 2 medals. Can you think of a tournament that in England that's been your biggest achievement? Well, what do you think's been the best tournament you've won in England?
In England, I guess the titles, like the title events, I can't really pick one specifically. I think the one that sticks in my... Go on.
You've won the British Open, haven't you?
No.
No, you haven't won that. Sorry, I thought you did.
Chiltern Open I've won, not the British Open. No. British Open we were 3rd though last year, so that's not bad because I was playing with the ladies then.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think of the ladies' game in general? Then I know that sometimes it doesn't get a lot of participants in terms of certain events, and I know there's been sniggers before about the amount of money that the ladies win, which is equal to the men's. What's your view on that? How do you think we can get more ladies participants, or because there's enough ladies out there that we can get a big tournament, but at nationals and titles weekend, you know, you rarely get 25 teams turn up, don't you, in doubles and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult. I think, like as I said before, the standard actually of our ladies isn't bad at all, but we've always struggled with numbers. Like since I've played, really, there's never been a huge amount of entries, and I think I don't really agree that the money should be split evenly. I think there's a lot more entries for the men, and although I believe that they're equal in terms of the actual competition and probably the prestige of winning them, I think if they're like sort of getting a lot more entries and a lot more money coming in, then I don't necessarily think that should go to the women's game. I think like Hassie has been doing a really good job with the International Women's Day and getting people involved in playing, and I'm hoping that I think that's been running a few years, a couple of years, and I'm hoping we can encourage some of those women to actually sort of start playing in the national competitions a little bit more and getting involved, to sort of increase the numbers, and obviously the more people you're playing against, the higher the standard hopefully will be as well. And then the juniors as well. So I think the split championships now hopefully that will help, because obviously if we can get them involved as a junior and then come through to Espoirs, hopefully they'll stay involved when they actually become a little bit older as well.
I know what you're saying. It's a very difficult one because naturally there's just a lot more men that play the game, and you know, I personally believe that the money split, although it's not all about money, because at the end of the day, when it's rankings and titles, you're trying to win to play for your country. But I think it needs to be more of a percentage split, so you get the same amount in terms of percent, but not necessarily the same amount in quantity.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that's something that you've got to look at. And do you have much to do with coaching any of the ladies players in the Espoirs or the juniors? Do you have any work with that?
I was actually hoping to start coaching the juniors last year. Obviously that would have carried over until next year, but for obvious reasons I can't now. So I haven't really been too involved in it, because obviously when you're playing a lot as well, it is a little bit difficult to be involved in the coaching side of things. Obviously Tony organises like squad days and things for the juniors where they ask players to go along. So I've been to those and coached, and I've played with some of the juniors as well. So I've played with Ella quite a few times in tournaments. but yeah, that's it all really.
No, yeah, it's yeah. I just think it's a very difficult and very sensitive situation when it comes to the ladies' game. Do you find the level is increasing every year, the standard of the ladies' game? Like, and that's no disrespect to anyone in the I'm not saying anyone's bad or anything in the ladies' game, but do you find every year that you play, it's getting harder and harder to win those tournaments? Because I know in 2019, Becky had a fantastic year, didn't she? She won a lot of tournaments.
She definitely did. I don't know. People seem to come and go. So, you know, you might get a few players really improve. So Becky over the last few years has really, really improved. But then you're losing some players. So, for example, I don't think Sammy really even played the in the national tournaments. So I wouldn't say overall as it's improving that much, because we seem to keep losing players. So as new players are coming through, we seem to lose some of our developed ones. Emma Longstaff, for example, is not playing anymore either. So yeah, I wouldn't say we're massively improving. I think we're just sort of staying at the same level at the moment.
And how will you being pregnant and having a baby affect your you know, the amount of playing time you will get moving forward?
Probably quite a lot. I'm still hoping to play in some things, so I've still committed to playing like the mixed doubles this year, but it's going to be a lot less, definitely this year, depending on obviously what happens with COVID and everything anyway.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, moving forward, I hope to still play. It's just about being, I suppose, a little bit more selective of which tournaments I'll be able to play in.
So are you looking to play maybe like rankings maybe and just see if you can get into the squad? Is that what you're looking to do?
Well, I think this year, if it all goes ahead as planned, which fingers crossed it will, but who knows, I'll be due at the same sort of time as the first ranking events. So that pretty much will count me out of like 4, I think. So in terms of rankings, I don't think that would be something that I might play in the tournaments throughout the rest of the year, just to kind of keep playing maybe. But yeah, in terms of rankings, I don't think that's something that I'll be able to be particularly involved in this year.
It's a big commitment, isn't it? If you're going to have a child, and obviously you and Jack, I'm talking about, both obviously play almost religiously for the last 10 years. And I guess it's going to be very difficult and very different to make that step back. And obviously you're going to have to put your family matters first, haven't you? Yeah,
exactly. And I think Jack has made all the commitments this year. He is going to play, hopefully. So yeah, I think it's kind of just, at the moment, one of us will be able to commit and the other one can hopefully do some bits, but yeah, we'll see. I think there's like a lot of people, so people like Claire Brooks, Connie, they've all kind of stopped because they've had children. So I don't think it's going to be that easy to do both, but we will see.
I mean, the only thing you've got on your side, well, what I think is on your side, is you come from a pétanque playing family, and there's a lot of you that do play in the Huntley family. So they obviously understand that you want to play, and you know, there's always someone that can look after a child, but obviously you want to be there while they're growing up anyway, don't you? So
yeah, we'll see. We're not short of people wanting to look after him already, but yeah, it just depends on how we feel, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. So what events in England would you say are your favourite to play in? Like, so just say this year wasn't a write-off, there's no such thing as COVID. What events would you say are the ones you most look forward to playing in?
I think Euro Cup is like definitely up there. That's probably my favourite. And the interregionals, and I think I like them both for the same reason, because they've got that competitive side. You're trying to win for yourself, but you've also got like the whole team and the camaraderie, and you know, you get to go and support everyone's supporting you. It's not just your results that matter.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got the social side of it as well, which is kind of, I think that's a lot of what we play for, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of the top players, and obviously you're one of the top players, so your views on this is important as well, that would say that they would rather have some sort of top tournament or go abroad on that weekend and leave the interregionals. But I, for one, absolutely love the interregionals, and I wouldn't want to lose it from my playing calendar anyway. So I'm assuming you're the same as me. You don't want to change.
Yeah, I think Yeah, I think interregionals is one of the, I think throughout the years, like since I've started playing, that's the tournament I've always looked forward to. So we obviously do go abroad throughout the rest of the year as well, and like sort of to represent your country, and you take it completely seriously, and you know, but I think there's always going to be that place for regionals as well. I don't see why you can't just do both. I don't think you need to get rid of regionals and go abroad again.
No.
I think you can sort of do both and kind of have the social side from that tournament as well.
But also, there's a pride thing, because I always, no matter if I'm playing for Southern or Chiltern, the pride that you have playing with your teammates and trying to help your team to win it is just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think like for a lot, like I was brought up in Chiltern, I started playing in Chiltern, so like when you win as a team, like the whole of Chiltern, like the celebrating together and all of that's like part of the tournament to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're playing, do you feel a bit of a target on your head because you're Sarah Huntley?
What, in regionals?
Yeah, do people want to beat you?
No, I don't know. What's the
I always
way?
did. No, that's cool. No, and obviously you spoke about Euro Cup then. Do you want to just tell people about just how good the Euro Cup is and playing for Baldock Town, what it's like?
Yeah, I think I would just be repeating what Reece and Sean and everyone has said about it. I think it's like a great tournament. Is when you go abroad, it's such a good feeling to be putting on that Baldock Town kit and to actually get to play as part of that team. So even if you're not playing and you're off the pitch, like you feel like you're involved in every single game. And sort of when you're playing, you're not just focusing on your game, you're focusing on all the others as well. So yeah, definitely my favourite tournament.
What's you've played in a lot of tournaments abroad as well, like as triples, doubles. What would you say is the one tournament that sticks out for you that you've played in that you really enjoyed and you did really well in?
I think probably Mosaic in recent years.
Can you just tell people about that tournament? What the tournament's like? What is it? Where?
Yeah, so it's in. Is it even Mosaic? Mosaic? Yes, yeah, so it's in Belgium. And then we take a big squad. I'm not sure how many teams we took actually, but there was quite a lot of us. It was at least I think maybe the top 8 women and top 8 men, plus a junior team as well. And it's over 3 days. So I think there's the triple, singles, and doubles, and then the shooting event as well. Yeah, so I think it was 2018. We went over there, and me, Sammy, Emma, and Karen won the triples event over there, and I won the shooting as well. So I think that's like the tournament that sticks in my head in terms of like how successful it was.
It's all, obviously I've played there as well, and it's also a very like sociable tournament, isn't it? There's a lot going on. There's like, you know, you've got the food stalls and stuff like that, and it's just a very inclusive event, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think you get to speak to all of the other countries, like all the teams that you wouldn't normally get a chance to speak to. And maybe at a championship, like a Worlds or a Europeans, it's a lot more serious, so you don't actually get to have that interaction with the teams and the same sort of social side of it either.
Yeah, and the actual amount of teams that go is normally about 200 odd teams, isn't there?
Yeah, I can't remember how many there were, but it was a lot.
Yeah, and there's obviously what the terrain's like. They're not too challenging, but they are different than what sometimes we get over here, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the ones we played on, sort of that the women played on early in the day, and sort of on all of the qualifying rounds, they weren't too difficult really.
No, yeah.
They were fairly like just plop and drop. But the main terrains where they play the finals, they're a lot more difficult. Yeah. So. Yeah,
and there's also there's terrains around the side of the building, and they're really difficult. They're like quite big rocks. I don't know if you've played around there.
No, we got put on the same ones every time, so we got nice and used to those. I think it was the men that got thrown around on the difficult ones.
That's all right. What moving on then? What, as someone who's one of the top players, have you got any sponsorship going on? Have you sponsored or anything like that?
No, I've never had sponsorship.
Never had sponsorship?
No.
Have you ever tried to like get sponsorship or anything like that?
I haven't really. Maybe I should, but it's not really something I'm not the sort of person that would go and ask for it. So I think it would have to be offered to me to do it. And even then, I'm not the sort of person that likes to be in the limelight. So
No, I know,
yeah.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. How do you think Baton England then can improve how they get sponsorship and how they can improve the marketing to get more players in? Because I mean, officially, we only get about 2,500 members, and on a country with 60 odd million, that's minuscule, isn't it?
I find it really difficult. I don't actually know the answer to that, and I wish I did. I don't know. I think things like the team kit and obviously things that you're doing at the moment, so the promotion of the sport, like you see it on Facebook all the time now, it's online. That's like, if you can improve that, I think that could actually, hopefully there'll be somebody with a big company out there somewhere that will think, oh, do you know what, I actually want to get involved in that. So I think, like, sort of, we have had little companies like Macron and people like that, like, have got involved. Is it TOG24?
Yeah.
Last year or last couple of years, sort of have. So if we could encourage more of those, but I don't know what really the answer is.
No,
I don't know.
It's a very difficult one to answer, isn't it? I mean, a lot of us, or those on the board, probably don't have much experience in marketing or sponsorship, so they probably struggle as well with what to do and how to sell it to someone. So I can understand where their frustration comes from. What about membership then? Do you think there needs to be a change in membership? Do you think it needs to be tiered, or do you think it's fine as it is?
I think tiered membership is a good idea. I think if you if you do want to represent your country, I don't think anyone would be against paying like that higher membership level to be able to get into that bracket where you're representing your country and you're in the squads. Like, obviously, I'm not really sure where you'd put the tiers specifically, but I don't think that it would be a bad idea to do tiered membership. And I think a lot of people would be willing to pay more than what they do at the moment to be part of the sort of the squads.
Yeah, and yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. So you and obviously you go out with Jack Blows, who's one of the country's leading players as well. Do you use Jack as a motivation to get better? Do you play a lot against each other? Do you practice a lot together?
We do, yeah. We practice a lot. We haven't so much this year, but I would say normally we practice a lot together. And I do think it's quite motivational. If I see him in a tournament and he's like lobbing a ball up and getting it to stop within a few inches, like, you do look at that and think, oh, do you know what, I want to be able to do that too. And I'm really lucky because he can obviously teach me give me tips and kind of like, you can follow his lead. Even when you're playing with him, you can think, oh, I'll try and land my ball there too. So yeah, I think there's not that much rivalry anymore because we don't get to play against each other that much now that it's split men's and women's. But yes, definitely. You want, like, I look at everyone, is that even in Baldock Town, you look and when you're playing with those people and you're watching them and you're sort of in awe and you think, oh, I want to be able to do that too. Yeah,
I mean, one area of your game that I know for a fact that you've been wanting to improve on is your pointing, isn't it? I'm the same as you. I'm shooting heavy at that as well. But how has that progressed? I know you were trying to practice that and get it forward. Have you seen lots of improvements in that side of your game?
Yeah, annoyingly, I was really starting to. So I felt like the beginning of last year, I had actually started to really improve. I'd had a lot of tips from Jack, Matt, Sam, Ross, everyone that I could get any advice from. I was having, like, doing little training sessions with them, and I did feel like it was really starting to improve. And it was the confidence as well in actually being able to throw a different ball. So before, I could maybe do it in practice, but then it'd get to a game and I'd think, oh, I'll just throw a little low one just to, I don't want to look silly, I don't want to embarrass myself. But I had started to build a bit of confidence with it. So yeah, it was a little bit disappointing at the beginning of last year that obviously I kind of put all that work in and then we couldn't play.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, it's a pain in the arse, isn't it? So, excuse me, what specifically did you feel was wrong with your pointing? Was it just a lack of confidence, or was there a lack of, like, skill there as well? Was it a bit of both?
I think it was a little bit of both, but I think it was a lot to do with confidence. I think, sometimes a lot of people might be watching, you might throw a bad ball, then you think, oh, I don't want to do that again, and then you do it again because you put so much pressure on yourself not to. So I think it was a lot to do with confidence, not even necessarily that I couldn't do it. It was just the confidence to actually be able to do it. I'd sometimes go into the circle and think, oh, don't throw a bad ball here, don't let it stick in your hand. And then obviously as soon as you're thinking that, you're actually probably more likely to do it. So
yeah, no, that's very true. It is definitely. And also what people that probably don't shoot as much as yourself realise is when you're shooting consistently and constantly in games, having to come into point and crucial moments is a very difficult thing to do, because your mindset is on throwing that ball at a certain way to hit that ball, and then all of a sudden you've got to play with a bit more finesse and a bit more control, and it's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and you don't actually grasp the pitch.
No,
so obviously
yeah.
as a pointer, you know how fast it's running, or and if you're shooting and you haven't thrown many points, obviously you can only really go by what other people have done, like how they're throwing their ball, and you've got to try and emulate that, which isn't that easy when you're not a pointer.
No, yeah, it's a very hard thing to do. Is there what about high lobbing? Are you confident with that now? Have you improved on that?
That's what I was working on, really, because I think everyone said to me, you know, if you can lob, like Jack will say, Matt will say, if you can lob, you take out all of the ground and you don't actually have to worry about the pitch. And it's sort of I mean, you can play the same ball on virtually any pitch and it'll work for you if you can lob well. So I have been working on that. That's what I was hoping to improve on and had started to improve on. But I think it's something that's an area actually in the women's game that I think a lot of women need to improve on. Because not many people
or lobbing in general.
Lobbing the ball. I think we've got a lot of good pointers, but lobbing the ball, there's not that many women that have got the confidence to actually just lob the ball up and kind of stop it within a few inches.
So do you think there needs to be more of like a, I don't know what the word, more of like maybe regional or national coaches involved, like giving the players and the members proper coaching? Because that's something that we do lack. There's not a lot of coaching in, I've never been offered a coaching day to go and learn how to do something. So
no, I think in Chiltern they do coaching days where you can actually go and go to the coaching day and learn from a lot of the top players that are in Chiltern and a lot of the coaches. So I actually went to one to learn to high lob. So I think there are a few about. I just don't think that there are many. And obviously that one day that you might go and get coached on lobbing, that doesn't necessarily stick with you, and you've got no one to like a month later go to and think, oh, let's say to them, oh, you know, have you got any feedback? You know, how's it going, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think the squads, they had tried to start to get the men's squad to work with the women's squad a little bit as well. But obviously lockdown kind of stopped that happening. So I think they are kind of starting to work towards that, and I think that's definitely something they need to do. It's
definitely something that I think needs to be done. I think the biggest problem I feel in England is a lot of the top players probably don't, because there's a lot of rivalry as well. Like, as much as we all get on, we all play each other and want to beat each other. And I think there's a real, you know, it's difficult to say to someone that is your rival, right, do it like this and you'll be better, because at the end of the day, you want to win. And I think there's quite difficult that point of it.
I think that, and I think you've got to be open to the suggestions as well and the input, and be willing to actually change it, which I don't think everyone is actually willing to do that. I think some people think they know best. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that's the same with every sport, isn't it? I'm like that with football. But I know exactly what you're saying. That's very true. What about then? In terms of this squad, then, are you in a squad now? Are the ladies a squad? Is anything changing? Who's in the squad?
I don't really know too much of what's going on with the squad this year. We haven't really heard too much. So
the men's is sticking together, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm not really sure. The only thing that I've really heard is what I've heard from Martin's interview that you did with him. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's happening with the women's issue. I think, because it's at the end of the year, they're just redoing the whole squad. But I couldn't be 100% on that.
Do you think that's fair? I personally don't, because who was in it? Becky, Hannah, Sabrina, was it?
And me. And then I think, that was. So we've kind of gone down to a 4.
So is it Becky, Hannah's first ever chance of playing in her majors? So I think Sabrina's played in a couple, hasn't she, before? So
yeah, Sabrina's been to a few. But I would think it would have been Hannah's and Becky's first one. So
yeah, it's a shame that they've got to do it all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm confident that they'll get back into the squad anyway. So I don't think it should be an issue, like really an issue for them.
No.
But yeah, it obviously is disappointing when you've been in the squad and you're hoping for that opportunity, and then because of something you can't control, you don't get to go.
No, that's a bit unfair. Do you feel like there's been a lack of communication as well over it? Just you just said you're not really sure what's going on. So
yeah, we haven't heard too much, but I think it's difficult for everyone at the moment because it's hard to actually for them to plan anything when they don't know what's going on either. So actually I can sort of understand where the lack of communication is.
Yeah, benefit of the doubt then this time, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you've achieved a lot in the game, but what are your what goals and aspirations do you still have? Because obviously you've achieved a lot, an awful lot, in fact. So what's still on the horizon in the future for Sarah Huntley?
So I hopefully we'll medal as a team at the Worlds or Europeans. Like that would obviously be my dream. It'd be nice to stand on the podium with my whole team. And Euro Cup as well. I think we got so close that you can kind of see that you can do it. And yeah, it's just that one more round, and then you could be medaling with the team, and that would be amazing. And then I think, like personally, I've worked like the last singles, I think it was 2018 in Italy. I finished in the top 8 and lost to France, but I was well up on her in the game, and then lost. And then she went on to win the competition, but I felt like I had kind of more to give, and I could have like just a little bit more, and I could have medalled in that as well. So,
but that's going back to what we said earlier, wasn't it, about just dealing with the environment a lot more, because we don't really put ourselves in that pressure situation, do we?
Not very often.
No.
It's definitely something I think we need to deal with. I think by going to more tournaments and playing against a higher level, that's like something that we can achieve.
Yeah, and that goes with going abroad though, doesn't it? And because I think if we really want to up our game, I think playing against the top European players is something that we've got to do more often.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Okay, Sarah, well, we are coming to the end of the show now, so I want to do my quick fire questions, which I do with all my guests at the end. So if you're ready for this. Number 1, the best venue in England you've played at?
Maybe I'm biased because I live in Arlesey, but I think Arlesey Car Park. I know everyone said that, but like to me, it suits my style of play probably the best.
Why though? Why is it? Because of the way it's just so bumpy and.
Yeah, and you have to. I think you have to play a really attacking game on there, and you need to like shoot ball to ball. So for me, that's like my perfect pitch.
Okay, cool. Number 2, the best advice you've ever been given?
Probably something that I actually haven't taken on board 100% myself, but definitely should more. And that's to play with as many people as you can. Like if you're given the opportunity, play with different people and ask different people to play with you, because I think you can actually learn something from pretty much everyone that you play with. And it will only make you a better player.
Good answer. So who is your favourite doubles partner to play with? You can't say Jack.
Emma Longstaff. Yeah, so I think we know each other.
Would you have said Jack?
It would have been a torn between the two, so you made my life easy. But I think both of them, they sort of know my game inside out and I know theirs, and we know how to sort of encourage each other, and when you're playing badly, how to get them out of that. So yeah, I think those two.
Yep. And what is the biggest competition you've ever won?
I think probably I won an international doubles with my mum in Blanche like an international invitational. So that's a long time ago. It's probably 2005, and then I think probably the mosaic shooting and triples after that.
Yeah. And lastly, you can play with any players in the world. Your dream triples, you and two others.
I think Cindy Perrault and Lacroix. I think they've both got really, really good. Yeah, I think they've got such good actions, and they're always like, you watch them, and I'm just in awe every time. So.
Yeah, Cindy. When I watch her on the internet, she's absolutely brilliant, isn't she?
She is. I think she's as good as like any of the men, to be honest, at the moment. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's something to aspire to be like, then, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. One day.
You'll definitely get there, trust me. Well, Sarah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I've really enjoyed listening to your achievements in the game. I can only dream of having half of them by the time I retire, let alone by the time I'm your age. I don't even know, you're older than me. But there we go. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And hopefully good luck with your pregnancy, and we'll see you on the piece soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.